Now that we have accepted connections, let's send and receive some data. First, get rid of the socket list. And now let's create a new class. Public string ID, get private set, public IP endpoint, get private set, socket, public client, socket, accepted. Socket equals accepted. Endpoint equals IP endpoint cast. Socket dot IP or remote endpoint. Now void callback async result AR. Public void close and public delegate void client received handler byte data client sender public delegate void client disconnected handler client sender public event client received handler received public event client disconnected handler disconnected. Now let's head on back to callback, add our try catch. Now, okay, oops, almost forgot this. Socket dot begin receive. New byte of 0, 0, 0, 0, null, callback, null. Okay, now just like before when we were using begin accept, this is begin receive. Now, we're not actually receiving anything using this method. We're just using this as a trigger. So once data is available and it hits our callback, this is where we'll do the actual receiving. Now that we're in a callback, sock.end receive, and now we do our actual receiving. Byte buff equals the new byte 8192. Int res equals socket.receive. Buff.length 0. If buff.length, if res less than buff.length, then array.resize byte ref buff. If received not equal to null, received this buff. Res. And begin reading again. Now, if there's an error, right-line the console and call close, and then call disconnected. Most likely there's an error, then it was disconnected. And in close, sock.close, socket.dispose. Alright, before we move on, and something I forgot, we need to set the ID. Gid equals ID equals gid.newgid.toString. And it's just so we can identify the class easier. Now that we have that all said and done, let's add a new form. And let's just use a list view. Oh, this is so much easier than C++. Endpoint, ID, last message, and last received time. Little space between them, and we're good. Now let's view code. Okay, now as we did in our program.cs, listener equals new listener, port 8. Listener dot socket accepted plus equals our new method, and alright, now this will be a little different. Client equals new client, E, client.received plus equals our pointer to our method, and now that that's over with, this will be multi-threaded, so we're going to have to invoke it for this current thread. You can either do method invoker, delegate, you can do it like that, or you can do it this way. It really all depends on you. Getting something? Whatever. Let's just use that. I cannot think tonight. Okay, we'll just use this. Now, list view item, I equals new list view item, I dot text equals client dot endpoint dot toString, I dot subitems dot add, client dot ID, I dot subitems dot add, just put a couple of X's, since we didn't use those yet, and forgot to rename the list view. Name it list clients. Now list clients dot add items dot add I. Okay, and now let's go down to disconnected. Now let's loop through the list view items. Now what this does is this just loops through all the list view items, checks the ID as you can see, and if they match then it just removes the item from the list view. Now under received, we'll basically do the same thing. Now as you can see, it's the same as up here except one line is different. Instead of removing the item, it just changes the current text. That will be last message in our list view. Time.now. So it loops through list view items, checks the client. If the ID matches, then it will set the data that's received and the current time. Now that we have that all working, let's go in our program.cs and modify a couple of things so this will work properly. Now you can get rid of everything else. And using system.windows.forms application.enable visual styles application.set compatible text render default to false and application.run new main. And if we debug this, we now see our form. To get rid of the console, just go to properties and change the output type to Windows application, or if you want to keep the console to make debugging easier so you don't have to go to output, you can do that too. It's all up to you. But now that we have our server all hooked up, now we have to get our client. So let's go over here and create a new form. This will be slightly more simple just for time's sake, but you guys will get the point. Let's add a button for connect. Another button for send. And the last button, close. Now let's just rename our buttons for ease. BTN connect, BTN send, TXT message, and BTN close. Now that we have all that going, let's go and get our stuff together. Now socket. Oops. Forgot our includes. Okay, now we have our client set up, so let's do some testing. Hmm. Oops, two things were forgotten. Same thing like we did before for the client. And go back to the main form and start the listener. First load plus equals tab and listener dot start. You could do this in the constructor too, it's just based on your preference. And as you can see, the connection was made, and if we open a new form, two connections have been made. Now let's send some information. Oh, forgot to set the tag. And as you can see, the data was sent and received in the server. And data from multiple connections. And when we close one of these, as you can see, the disconnection was handled. And that is a simple way to handle multiple connections.